My wife's going out of town for a weekend in about a month or so. And like, I'm going to just order Skyrim now, and it's going to sit on the shelf. And that weekend that she's gone, that's it. Like, just 96 straight hours of Skyrim.
Welcome back to Cartridge Based Radio. I am Donald, again joined by Brad.
Hey, how you doing?
And we are here to tell you to not avoid this episode as we talk about Yo-Noid.
I mean, preferably we would tell you to not avoid any of our episodes, but yeah, this one in particular. Donald, can I ask you a question?
You may ask me any question.
Do you like mysteries?
I love mysteries. Are we talking like Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew? I'm down with that.
Any situation where we're given a bunch of clues and you have to kind of draw a conclusion based on logical deductions.
I do enjoy this because I get to say just one more question.
All right, so I have a mystery for us to solve.
All right.
What is the storyline or plot or purpose? What are you trying to do in Yo-Noid for the NES?
So, Yo-Noid for the NES is terrible.
Yes.
Like, it makes Jurassic Park look rad. So, from what I could tell of Yo-Noid, you are crossing various landscapes, hitting people in the face with a yo-yo, to get to a pizza contest, and then pull your weird Noid ear things.
Yeah.
I literally have no clue what was happening in the NES classic Yo-Noid.
We didn't come into this one with a box or instructions or anything. We just had the game to play. And based on the actions in the game, there isn't really a story. There is an intro screen that I'm going to read for everybody in a moment. But there isn't, within the game, there isn't any cutscenes or like storyline or anything. And there doesn't seem to be a purpose to anything that's going on.
It's basically just a straight up platformer with various locations that kind of felt inspired by other games, other Capcom side scrollers such as like Chippendales Rescue Rangers and DuckTales.
Yeah.
It looks like some of the art was lifted from those games. I don't know what demonic merger of corporate sponsorship and Capcom really needing a giant check happened for Yo-Noid to exist in any justifiable way. But please, read us the opening before we delve into trying to figure out, through talking about the levels, what is happening in this game.
Okay, so these screens, in order to even see them, you have to kind of just let it sit on the start screen for a little while. Donald was not even aware that they existed, and I happened to just kind of stumble upon them while I was busy yelling at the game after a playthrough. But if you let it sit on the start screen, you will eventually get a little bit of what I guess passes for a story. And the first screen you get is just a picture of the Noid with kind of a derpy look on his face. And it says, wild creatures led by, finger quotes, Mr. Green are assailing New York City. That's the first screen.
Okay, sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it already very intriguing. Second screen is a picture of the Noid, like, shaking his fist at the city skyline. Like, a silhouette of a different Noid with a question mark over its chest and pizzas flying around it. And it says, the mayor, and it's not spelled like the mayor of a city. It's spelled like John Mayer, like Mayer. The mayor knows that only the Noid has the power to stop them. So wild creatures are assailing New York City. The mayor knows that only the Noid can stop them. I don't know how the mayor knows this, and I don't know if he tested that theory out at all. And then the final screen, we see the Noid running towards a building, and there's like a starburst behind the building, and he's flicking his yo-yo in the direction of the building. This is like an over-the-shoulder kind of shot of the Noid. It says, using his super yo-yo and other inventions, he will try.
Okay, other inventions? I mean, I have a lot of problems with everything you just said, But my main takeaway from this is other inventions when you literally have one weapon and it's that stupid yo-yo.
Now, I suppose you and I are, we'll say, older, more distinguished gentlemen.
Yes.
Some of our listeners might not be aging decrepit mummies like we are. They might not remember the Noid. This was kind of a late 80s, early 90s thing. And the Noid is a claymation character that appeared in a series of Domino's pizza commercials. And I can't remember if he hated all pizza or just Domino's pizza.
He hated warm pizza.
He hated warm pizza.
Yes, he would freeze warm pizza so you'd get a cold pizza, but Domino's box technology kept the pizza warm so you could avoid the Noid. I'm not kidding. I watched these commercials earlier, and I kind of want to punch myself in the side of the head so I can forget them. They were atrocious. When I was little, I was like, oh man, this is amazing. We have to get Domino's pizza. These ads are incredible. They're so bad.
Now, didn't he also have a conveyor belt that would just crush pizzas? They would be on the belt and they go under a thing and it would crush it.
Yeah, that was one of them. He hated pizza, but Domino's had such technology in their boxes. They fought the Noid for you.
That is quite a thing. I was just thinking if it was just that the Noid only hated Domino's pizza, that would almost, every show we ask, are you the good guy or are you the bad guy? And I think if he only fought Domino's pizza, that would flip that question entirely on its head. If he was protecting you from eating Domino's, that's a hero. Give that guy a cape because he is doing just the most important job I can think of.
80s Domino's or current Domino's?
So here's the thing. Late 80s, 10 years old, we get some Domino's pizza. And it's just never again. We're not doing this anymore. I pick on my hometown a lot, but one thing that Buffalo does have going for it is they really do have good pizza there. And I didn't fully appreciate it until I moved out to Seattle, and they don't. My best pizza option on the West Coast is actually Pizza Hut, and that is sad. I like Pizza Hut, but when I lived in Buffalo, there were 20 local places that were all better than Pizza Hut. And I do not have that out here.
I mean, we could argue about Domino's Pizza forever.
Okay. Has it gotten better? Is that...
Yeah, they've actually turned things around. It's decent. Whatever, we're not sponsored by Domino's. Domino's is going to ignore us hardcore after this episode.
Not only are we not sponsored by Domino's, but we are pretty much burning any chance we'll ever have. Unless they want to do an Arby's on the Daily Show thing where we just say bad things about it and they sponsor us anyway. And that's the whole point. But I remember a couple years ago, Domino's came out with a series of commercials where they're just hey, remember how our pizza's terrible? Now it's adequate.
That's true. It is perfectly adequate. Their thin crust pizza is exactly that. So... we have this dazzling 3 slides where apparently John Mayer can't save the city.
No, but he knows that the Noid can. That takes a lot of very specific knowledge to see a situation and be there's only one person who can stop this, and it's the Noid.
But then he's I'm not going to do anything about this. I'm John Mayer.
I'll write a song about it.
It'll be very catchy. It'll be on Top 40 radio. So you get your yo-yo and you decide you're going to stop Mr. Green. So the first thing we need to establish in this nonsensical story, who is Mr. Green?
I have no earthly idea. It took me 10 tries to get through the first level, and when I did, I had to be in a pizza eating contest, and I didn't do it fast enough, and it made me play level 1 again, and I nearly cried. I did not finish this game. I did not get to Mr. Green. This godforsaken game has defeated me in every way possible.
Okay, so spoilers here. You might want to cover your ears if you don't want to hear about this amazing ending. There is a man dressed in green. He kind of looks like Mario, and he's holding a bunch of pizzas in his hand. And the Noid walks up after walking backwards through every tile set in the game. He gets to the end and then he walks back through the entire game. So I guess Mr. Green was at the beginning. So Mr. Green's standing there by the pizza thing. The Noid walks up, and the next screen is this 2-frame animation of the Noid pulling those weird things that come off his head and just opening and closing his mouth.
So he's mad.
Let's go back a little. What are those things on his head? Are those like weird flesh limbs that come out of his head?
I mean, they kind of look like bunny ears. He seems to dress in a onesie footy pajamas all the time. So it might just be part of his outfit. I don't know if he's supposed to look like a jester or something.
I have this horrible feeling that it's like a pair of arms growing out the top of his head that have no hands. Because they seem to move independently. Like, the horror of him not wearing that jumpsuit will keep me up at night for the next couple nights. So Mr. Green looks like Mario in a green apron.
I mean, you've played Mario, right? You're aware that there is a character in Mario who looks like Mario, except he's green, right?
Yeah, but he's thinner. I mean, this is straight up like someone traced the Mario sprites from when you are in Mario 3, when you're looking for you're in the treasure box in Toad's house, how he's standing over on the left. It looks like they traced over that and just painted the red parts green. And they're like, yo, Mr. Green. And John Mayer walked by in production, and he's like, that's pretty cool.
John Mayer would have been like 5 years old when this game
Well, that explains the plot. You just walk up to him, and he's holding pizzas, and then the Noid's upset. Now that we know the end game, which is absolutely nothing happens at the end, let's go back to just the beautiful beginning of Yo Noid. You have this terrible, like, splash screen at the beginning. It looks like every 80s Trapper Keeper you've ever seen in your life.
Except with the Noid on it.
Well, all mine had the Noid on. I don't know what you're talking about.
You must have been, like, the most popular kid in school.
Oh, so far from it. I now have a retro game podcast. That's how cool I was. So you hit start, and the one track of music you're going to hear the entire game fires up. Wikipedia claims that there's multiple tracks of music, but I don't know if they changed one note and they said, yeah, that's a new track. They all sound the same to me. But you're on a pier, and it kind of looks like New York skyline in the background.
Yeah.
And there's plumbers.
I guess.
Or guys in gas masks.
No, the first level has guys with spears.
Okay, because you're at the pier. Obviously, a lot of spear fishing goes on at piers in New York, right?
The piers of New York City are just lined up with guys holding spears over their head, waiting for a sturgeon to go by. And they're just they're going to harpoon it. Be like Moby Dick.
I have to default to your knowledge of this topic because you're from the East Coast, so I believe what you just said is true.
I've been to New York City twice. I've seen it firsthand.
Okay, so for some reason the pier is a floating pier that is pitching wildly in the ocean, and you even get close to the water. Even if you're like standing on a sprite that is not submerged, it will straight up kill you.
Yeah, there is like a good 5 to 10 pixel where you can see the dock, but if you're standing on it, you die because it counts you as being in the water. And that's not a good thing to have in a game where you're trying to like jump onto things before they go underwater.
Okay, so the Noid's adventure. Obviously the pier means he has just arrived from some place to take on this quest of stopping Mr. Green.
Is this like an immigrant story? Like, is he just like off the boat from Noidland and he's landed in New York City?
Maybe Grand Theft Auto 4 stole this plot line. Because, I mean, that game starts with you getting off the boat and then getting up to shenanigans.
Yes.
After you finish the first level, you get into a pizza eating contest, which is basically a math game.
A really easy math game. Like, all you have to do is know which number is bigger than the other.
Yeah, that's all you have to do. And even though you admitted you failed it and had to redo the first level.
I failed it because I didn't know what I was doing, and it gives you like 5 seconds to pick something, and I'm like, what am I? Oh, back to level 1.
But then you have powers to like double the amount of pizza that you eat. And you can add like hot sauce and pepper. So you're having this really stupid fight with the local champ, and it keeps saying local champ go first.
Yeah.
Which it goes first, but let's not nitpick there. And as you progress through these fights, it gets to the point where local champ has like 5 cards, like 5 pizzas on his little card, and you're still at a max of 3.
How do you win the pizza eating contest at that point?
So you have to, in the level, find these little like Roman numerals, like 2 and 3, and you got to collect those, and the goal is to not use them at the beginning of the game. You save them to the end because they stack.
Oh.
And then you can get through the pizza eating contests.
Here's a question I have for you. Do you know who the local pizza eating champ of Spokane is?
Neil Armstrong?
Oh, that makes sense. Because I was just thinking, like, I've lived in Tacoma for about a year now, and I don't know who the Tacoma local pizza eating champ is. And I don't know if it's just like, if Seattle's pizza eating champ is like the whole region of Western Washington, we don't get our own down here. I don't know if like Portland has their own, or if it's just like the whole Pacific Northwest is just one champion.
No, that wouldn't make sense in this game, because after every couple levels, you have one of these fights, and that means it's the local champ of those levels.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the Noids, you know who the pizza eating champ is. And even though you hate pizza, you get into these pizza eating contests. Seriously, I think it's the first level is 12 pizzas. You have to eat 12 pizzas before the other person eats 12 pizzas. After I eat like 3 slices, and it might be an age thing, I'm like, I need to lay down, slip into a coma, and hopefully wake up after my body processes this pizza. I couldn't then go to the ice rink to fight polar bears and men with those weird shuffle.
Oh, curling.
Like every good ice rink in New York, it has floating icebergs that when you land on them, you slide off of.
Now, I was really confused about the second level because you start out and it's an ice level, but it looks like you're in a supermarket checkout, and I think it even says like 1 per lane or something. But it's also like a frozen ice level with like hockey playing polar bears or something, or penguins, like ice themed animals. It's slippery. I think it was the supermarket.
Let's put a request out there. If you live in New York, please email us at cartridgebaseradio@gmail.com and tell us how many polar bears you've seen while trying to check out at the grocery store. We really need to know. And then at the end of that level, it says goal, like hockey goal, I guess. So maybe you were playing hockey. And this level has platforms that shatter if you stand on them too long while waiting for the little slippy iceberg things that you have to jump to.
I just want to put it on the record right now. Moving platforms that you're jumping onto that are covered in ice should be outlawed from games forever.
The only place where it was acceptable was DuckTales, because when you pogoed on them, you didn't slide and you could manage it. But I'm so glad we've gotten away from the ice platformer genre.
The really crazy thing about the ice moving platforms in Yo Noid is, the typical trick to stopping sliding is you just do a quick little hop. So if you're sliding forward and you do a hop backwards, and you should try to jump straight up and down to stop the slide. But if you screw up and you hop backwards, when you land, you still are sliding forwards.
I would say it's bad physics, but no matter what you tap on your controller, he wildly slides in that direction, and 9 times out of 10 you are dead. Just the trick is when you land to not touch anything, and he'll do this weird little jerk and then stop moving. I don't know how you go from pier to ice rink. The connect there isn't working for me.
I'm not sure if this is like, if the whole game takes place in New York City and you're just like going through the city looking for these wild creatures, or if this is like a nationwide pizza contest tour that, the whole animal in New York thing is just sort of like a excuse, or maybe like you got John Mayer to sponsor you on this pizza quest by saying, oh, I'll take care of the animals in the city when I get there, from whatever part of the country I'm currently in.
Well, there's a later level where you have a little boat that you activate, and in the background, I'm guessing now it's supposed to be the Brooklyn Bridge, if the Brooklyn Bridge was constantly repeating itself over and over, but it looks more like the Golden Gate Bridge, so maybe this is a nationwide, because there is a level that straight up looks like a ruined city and or Detroit. And then the level right after that is the first level from Double Dragon.
I would love to think that the entirety of the action of Yo Noid takes place like within like a 2-block radius. Like I know we're delving into game geography again, but like it would be really fun to think that this whole epic quest is like half a mile.
And instead of like this big tyrant, it's just like Mr. Green's original pizza. They don't even bring Domino's up in this game at all.
Domino's paid probably some money to Capcom to... Boy, I would hate to think it went the other way around. Like, Capcom's just like, we're going to bring this game out in the States. We need a hot license. Let's give Domino's a bunch of money to get the Noid in our game.
Man.
That could have we had it backwards the whole time? We thought this was a Domino sponsored game, but it's actually like Capcom licensed the Noid.
The Noid must have been at critical mass when they decided to do this, and the Noid did not have a long span. They would have had to pen this deal, then Capcom would have had to step in, build the game, and then put it out, and by then that Noid had to be done, right?
Yeah, I mean, you think about like how long it must have taken to program this game, like 3-4 weeks.
Tops.
It's kind of like if it was like December of 1990 and you like signed a deal with Vanilla Ice to make a game about him, and then like January 91 it comes out and everybody's like, nope, don't care about Vanilla Ice. Like it could be that the same kind of thing happened here with the Noid. Like in the time between when this deal was made and when the game came out, like the Noid fad just was over. Yeah,
so it had to be a bad deal. And then on top of that, they were selling this to people like on purpose. It's got to be a form of fraud of some sort that you sold this as a video game.
Should we talk about why we're even discussing this game on the show?
We should talk about why we are discussing this game, because there's probably someone really mad at us right now.
or not. I don't even know. Yeah, this was a fan request. This was from who so far has been probably the biggest fan of the show. Our super fan, Jess, requested that we talk about Yo Noid on the show. And it could be that she secretly hates us.
I mean, I secretly hate us too, so...
This could have just been like a whole plot of, I'm going to follow this show, I'm going to post comments on their Facebook stuff, I'm going to give them feedback, and then I'll spring my deadly trap and make them play Yo Noid.
So is this a 19-week long con?
It might be.
Well, Jess, well played. I really hope you weren't like, oh, they're going to talk about my favorite childhood game, Yo Noid.
When I first got my NES, my brother and I used to go down to the local Woolworth store. And I guess we can throw them under the bus because I don't think they're going to sponsor the show since they haven't had a store in 30 years. But we used to go down to Woolworths and we would buy whatever was in their game cabinet that was $20 or less. And we got like Iron Sword, which is terrible. We got Werewolf, which is awful. And we got Time Lord, which is one of the worst games you could ever possibly imagine. But we knew they were bad. We were kind of stuck with them. We felt a little gypped, but we didn't delude ourselves into thinking, oh, this is really fun. And these were like the only games we had. We're just like, I guess we don't really like Nintendo that much. And it wasn't for the fact that like we got Punch-Out and Ninja Gaiden with the system, we probably would have just been like, games, we're over it. But yeah, I mean, we knew what we were playing wasn't fun.
And those games are probably far superior in quality and production and semi-weaving a tale than Yo Noid.
You, sir, have never played Time Lord.
Are you saying Time Lord is worse than Yo-Noid?
Time Lord is worse than having a car dropped on you from a height.
I mean, we haven't really figured out. I'm just going to tell you the levels here, and then we're going to figure out the story. You go to a pier, you go to an ice rink, you then go to a skateboard park, then you are on New York's rooftops fighting plumbers.
Do we know it's New York's rooftops?
The Chrysler building is straight up in the background.
Okay.
Then you're on a boat with what I thought was the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. And then in a horror part of the game, you go to the circus, and then you're flying gyrocopters, and then you're at the ruined city, which I thought was Detroit. Then you're at the first level of Double Dragon. Then you're in a factory. Then you're in another factory.
There's 2 factory levels.
They're in a row, too. They didn't even hey, let's split this up with something. It's just factory, pizza contest, factory. Screw you, player.
I'd like to think it was the same factory and they just have a pizza contest in their lunchroom every day.
Then you go up a high-rise, which I believe is the building from the opening cinema. Air quotes. You're just going up like a fire escape and platforming your way up. And then you have another gyrocopter level, but there's men in jetpacks shooting giant bubbles at you. And the copter does not control well. There's these little flying spike balls that will knock you out of the air. It's terrible.
They're just floating in midair? You think you have the technology to make a ball of spikes float in midair, but then you're just you're arming your guys who have jetpacks. You're arming them with bubble wands. You just used up all your science budget on the jetpacks and the floating spikes, and you forgot to buy guns.
Well, you don't want violence in your Noid game. That's send the wrong message. And after that level is the ending that we talked about earlier with Green Mario, who's not Luigi. Okay, now you know the levels. What's the story of Yo-Noid?
The Noid takes a tour of New York City and eats pizza.
I wish people could see the pained look on your face right now.
I mean, I'm taking what I know about the Noid in general from the Domino's commercials and what we see in the game and the little intro that's given to us, and I'm trying to draw some kind of conclusion from these things.
But we did not mention that the local champs are also Noids.
Yeah, New York City's just overrun with Noids.
So this establishes them as a species?
I guess?
Or it's a furry thing where they dress up as their favorite Noid?
Whatever it is, people have bad experiences with them because, everyone attacks you on sight.
I don't know why you're the hero of this tale if, plumbers on rooftops in New York are trying to kill you. Birds are trying to kill you. Fish are trying to kill you.
Nature abhors a Noid.
And from the commercials, you are told to avoid the Noid. And he ruins pizzas. So he's not a good guy. Anyone who ruins a pizza on purpose is 2 levels below Satan in Dante's Inferno. He doesn't even go down there. He's that's where the people who ruin pizzas are.
I'm just thinking the Capcom development team just well, all right, we have 6 commercials to draw all our source material from. We have 3 minutes of Noid footage, and we got to make a game out of it.
Is this the E.T. scenario where they got the license and didn't even bother to watch the movie before pumping out the game? Do they we have this character and the bullet points are, we know he loves pizza, and that's literally the only bullet point, and they screwed that up because the Noid hates pizza. The Noid would not be in a pizza eating contest. Ever!
The Noid only has one personality trait, and it's that he hates pizza, and they couldn't get that right.
I know why he has a yo-yo in this game, but I don't want to spoil why he has a yo-yo in this game. Maybe we should talk about why he has a yo-yo in this game.
I feel like we're kind of reaching critical mass of how many times you should say yo-yo in one podcast.
So this game was something else in Japan.
Yeah.
This game was called Kemen no Ninja Hanamura, which literally translates means Masked Ninja Hanamura. And he had a pigeon on his shoulder. And when you pressed attack, the pigeon would fly out and hit things.
That's awesome.
So they replaced pigeon with yo-yo.
They could have picked anything.
Yes, and I believe it had a story. You were looking for lost children who keep vanishing at a circus place.
Okay, this is the Japanese game.
Yes.
Okay.
And the pizza eating contests were ninjutsu matches with other characters.
Were they still dependent on you being able to know if 5 was a bigger number than 3?
Pretty much, yes. But you got different graphical attacks depending on what you used. So it wasn't just either you eating and the other one stomping his feet and pulling his weird arm head things. So that part's the same. So yeah, so that was the game in Japan that for some reason they thought we couldn't handle a little masked ninja with a pigeon.
Americans hate games about ninjas. I mean, we spent all the bad dudes punching them.
I don't know why this is the bridge they refused to cross. Or they thought, oh, we can get this sweet Noid deal, and we can just drop it into this game. You still have the ninjutsu powers in Yo Noid. If you press down and attack, you use the ninjutsu powers from the Masked Ninja game.
I did not discover this.
So you just press down and attack, and the whole screen will freeze if you have ice.
Ooh.
Or there'll be a thunder crack, and everyone will die on the screen. So the Noid's other inventions apparently translate into this deep mystical power he can tap into and fry everyone with thunder and then hit them with a yo-yo.
So secretly the Noid is Storm from X-Men, except also hates pizza.
And obviously Storm from X-Men does not hate pizza because she's not a monster.
Yes.
So we know that it's just a reskin of a game which, from what I've read, was not well received.
Yeah, they Mario 2'd it, essentially.
But where Mario 2 is an amazing classic, Yo Noid is something that you would use to start a fire when you're out in the woods camping with your friends. I mean, I'm not sure to even be good at that.
No, it's not flammable, so there's just one other aspect of life that Yo Noid fails at.
We can't even extract anything really great from what's going on with this game. It's just this nonsensical, here's a bunch of levels that are very challenging because the hits are coming from off screen. Like the fast birds, if you don't know where they're coming from, they're going to just hit, and you have a one hit to kill. So if you don't memorize the level, you're so screwed.
It's nowhere near as good in quality, but the basic gameplay is not too dissimilar from Mega Man, but they didn't give you any life bar at all. And they filled it up with cheap hits. Those fish in the first level will just kill you so frequently. I almost wonder if those guys that happen to have spears, if they weren't fishing so much as just defending themselves from the aggressive fish that jump on land to kill you.
They're like, we don't understand what this little man with weird head tentacles is who's coming at us, so we'll attack him. And they don't really attack you, they just walk towards you.
Yeah, and then you hit them in the face with a yo-yo.
And it might just be a misunderstanding. They didn't see you, and they didn't really want to kill you with a spear, but you just happen to be in the way. I don't know.
Did they actually stab you with the spear? Or is it just like the classic Nintendo, I walked into you and you died kind of deal?
I walked into you and died. They're like, we're not making frames of animation for this. I mean, whatever. This game exists for someone signed a deal with the devil. The Noid, and this is not his first game.
I did not know that.
There is a PC game called Avoid the Noid.
Is that game super fun? Is it possible that Jess gave us the wrong game?
No one has actually spent the time to make that playable in this day and age, so I'm going to guess it wasn't. This game you could buy on a cartridge. That was on a 3.5 floppy.
Oh, it might have actually been on a 5 1/4 back that long ago.
Yeah, the 89. Yeah, 5 1/4.
Yeah, like the floppy disks that were literally floppy.
So it might just be lost to time, and I'm gonna guess that's a gift to us that game was destroyed. If someone could find the source code for Yonoid and destroy it, that would be a favor to all of humanity.
Maybe we actually need a Time Lord to go back to 1988, 89, and just make this game not happen.
Like, hey, guys, Americans and Europeans like ninjas. Give them the ninja game. It looked better because they didn't paint over all the sprites. Some intern was just told, hey, paint over all these sprites. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So it looks better. It has more variety in music. And you are fighting with a pigeon that sits on your shoulder. All around, the other game sounds better. By everything I've read, they're both terrible in their own ways, but at least you're a ninja with a pigeon in one of them, instead of a crappy spokes character from a bad ad campaign.
From, like, the nation's second worst nationwide pizza chain. At least there's no Little Caesar game. And it comes with 2 games that are terrible. You pay $5 and it comes with 2 terrible Nintendo games in the box.
They're hot and ready. So that was Noid.
Did we solve the mystery? Did we ever figure out what the game's actually about?
The Noid dropped some acid and just walked through New York.
Eating pizza.
People are like, hey, that's my pizza. And he's like, no, I'm the local champion.
Did we solve the other mystery of, does our number one fan actually hate us?
Maybe it's childhood rose-colored glasses.
Or Stockholm Syndrome?
While wearing rose-colored glasses. He's the villain. I don't think we even have to put it to a vote because he hates pizza.
Yeah.
Every character in this game is a villain.
The people who made this game are villains.
Every level's a villain. The only thing that comes out of this game that's cool is yo-yos are cool.
Sure.
Yo-yos are not cool anymore.
Remember how I was talking about, like, the Vanilla Ice fad kind of ended right around Christmas 1990, like 3 weeks after it started?
Are you telling me yo-yos are gone?
Yeah. I'm sure they'll come back, at some point.
I'm heartbroken right now. What about ninjutsu? Is that cool? Like mystic martial arts magic.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know how the Noid got ninjutsu. Probably should not give someone who hates pizza ninjutsu magic. That's a bad idea. So the Noid for NES is the villain. Just the entire cartridge.
Yeah.
We missed out on a ninja game. That's sad.
Yep.
You know what? Avoid the Noid. That's sound advice. If you think, hey, they talked about this game, I want to go back and try it.
I solved the mystery.
You have?
This whole thing, Domino's marketing slogan, avoid the Noid. They went out and had Capcom make the worst possible game they could come up with starring the Noid just to drive home the point. Avoid the Noid. This is a brilliant marketing strategy for Domino's Pizza.
You just had the biggest breakthrough in this show.
This is the biggest breakthrough we've had since the very first episode when we figured out that all the Street Fighters were LARPing.
Wow. So Domino's straight up was telling us not to buy the game.
They warned us the whole time.
But at the same time, they licensed out the character and Capcom gave them money for it. While over here, they're like, don't play that game. It's trash.
And when you play it and it's terrible, and then a Domino's commercial comes on, says avoid the Noid, and you're just like, you were trying to warn me the whole time, Domino's. I should have trusted you. Give me 20 pizzas.
I should have ordered your superior box technology this whole time.
It's so brilliant. Good on you, Domino's.
I have this newfound respect for Domino's Pizza right now. It's not the long con that she liked our show just to visit this on us. The longest con was it wasn't until this moment in time that someone figured out what Domino's was doing with their campaign and that game. That's lovely.
So mystery solved. We did it. We set out the beginning of this episode. We had a case we were trying to crack, and these two gumshoes figured it out.
That was our rousing case of the missing good game. If you want to send us an email about why you think Yonoid was a good game, you can email us at no@no.com. That's how those emails will get to us. But if you have anything else you'd like to say, it's cartridgebaseradio@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at the show's name. Come on over and talk to us on the show posts. We're going to try to do some more fun stuff over there.
We keep talking about it. We're going to start doing it at some point. And we had requested that our listeners in New York City email us to answer questions we had about the Noid. So if you live in New York City and you want to tell us if your city was accurately portrayed in the game, go ahead and drop us a line and let us know. I will save you the effort of what I know you're going to put in there. I already know Giants rule, Bills suck. You don't have to tell me. Just let us know about the Noid.
Basketball and hockey, my two favorite sports. That's what those teams are.
So close.
We also now are on Twitter.
Yes.
I found out that our show's name is too long for Twitter by one letter.
Our show's name is 163 characters long.
And CBR Podcast is a podcast about the Chicago Bears.
I mean, the initials kind of work. It's not the ones I would have picked for my Bears podcast, but at least it's not like about like industrial farm equipment or something. Like, we're going to discuss some tractors today on CBR radio.
I don't know. That sounds pretty good. I could listen to an hour of tractors. So we are Cart-Based Radio on Twitter. So if you want to come talk to us there.
And it is C-A-R-T, right? It's not like cart, like Mario Kart.
No, it's C-A-R-T. We just took off the ridge off cartridge, and there you go. You can talk to us there. If you have a game you want us to talk about, I mean, that's probably not a good outro here right after we just savaged a request.
After we savaged our one fan.
Oh, we're so sorry. We are Cartridge-Based Radio. I am Donald. This was Brad.
Yep.
Please avoid the Noid.
You should edit it so that it's like me going, I know what it is, but I don't know if we're going to have to edit it out. And then like there's just like a very obvious cut, and it comes back to you being like, yeah, that's not worth giving up our family-friendly rating for. I have an explanation for those that I've come up with, but I think you're going to have to cut it from the show.
I want to hear it. No, it's not worth the explicit tag for this one.